The year was 2471. Humanity had reached the stars. Building colonies and mining stations around nearby systems, life was calm and full of curiosity. People looked at the night sky, not with fear, but with dreams. Then, one quiet night, a strange signal reached Earth. It was not a normal transmission. It repeated every hour in a voice that was not human. The message said, "This is the Galactic Alliance. We are losing the war. If anyone can help, send warriors." At first, scientists thought it was a mistake, or maybe an old broadcast from a long-dead civilization. But when the signal repeated again and again, always changing slightly like it was alive, they realized it was real and recent. Someone, somewhere, was calling for help. The message carried fear and desperation. The more they decoded it, the clearer it became. The galaxy beyond human borders was burning. Governments gathered. Military leaders held secret meetings. Some said to ignore it. Others said it was a chance for humanity to finally step into the galactic stage. But the final decision came not from the politicians, it came from the people. Across Earth, millions volunteered. Soldiers, engineers, pilots, even civilians who wanted to be part of something greater. The world united under one banner for the first time in centuries. Humanity was going to war among the stars, not to conquer, but to answer a call for help. The first fleet was small compared to alien standards. 12 warships built quickly and armed with the best weapons humans had. They were not advanced, but they were reliable. Their armor was thick, their engines strong, and their crews determined. The fleet launched from Luna Base, their engines lighting up the dark side of the moon. Billions watched the broadcast as the ships disappeared into the jump gate, leaving Earth behind. For 3 weeks, the fleet traveled through unknown space. The crew saw strange stars and glowing nebulae that no human eyes had ever seen before. Every man and woman aboard felt a mix of fear and pride. They were explorers and soldiers at the same time. Some joked that they were heading into a galactic war with nothing but guts and steel. Others stayed silent, staring at old photos from home, wondering if they would ever return. When they arrived at the coordinates from the message, they saw chaos. Dozens of alien ships were locked in battle. Blue plasma fire and explosions filled the void. The Galactic Alliance fleet was being crushed by a larger enemy force. It was like watching a storm of death in space. The humans sent a signal announcing their arrival, but no one answered. The battle was too intense. Then something unexpected happened. One of the alien ships, damaged and spinning out of control, was heading straight toward the human fleet. Captain Reyes of the flagship Horizon had seconds to decide. He didn't hesitate. He ordered his ships to shield the damaged vessel, firing missiles to destroy incoming enemy fire. The humans moved fast and coordinated. They saved the alien ship, but now the enemy noticed them. The alien commander of the Alliance, a tall, blue-skinned being named Kerthel, watched from his bridge in shock. He had not asked for humans to come. He had never even seen one. Yet here they were, fighting to protect strangers. His sensors showed that their technology was primitive. Their weapons were kinetic, not energy-based. But their tactics were strange. They moved in patterns no one in the galaxy used. They fought like predators. The enemy, the Zorath Empire, turned their ships toward the humans, expecting an easy kill. But the humans didn't retreat. They split their fleet into smaller groups and attacked from multiple angles, something the Zorath were not prepared for. Missiles and railguns tore through enemy armor. The humans lost 2 ships, but in return they destroyed 5 enemy cruisers. The battlefield fell silent for a moment as the impossible happened. When the battle ended, the Galactic Alliance had barely survived. The Zorath retreated. The alien commanders looked at the human fleet, unable to understand how such a young species had done what they could not. Captain Reyes opened a channel and simply said, "We received your message. We came to help." Kerthel watched the human captain's face on the screen. He saw no arrogance, no pride, only determination. That moment spread through every surviving ship in the Alliance. The humans had arrived. No one in the galaxy knew it then, but the war had just changed forever. The newcomers from the small blue planet at the edge of the galaxy had entered the war zone, and nothing would ever be the same again. The next sunrise over the alien world of Tarlin looked different. The battlefield below was quiet, but the silence felt heavy. Smoke and debris floated in orbit. Human ships hovered nearby, battered but still standing. The Galactic Alliance could not believe what had happened. For years, they had been losing every major fight against the Zorath Empire. No one had ever stopped them. Then, humans arrived and changed everything in a single day. Captain Reyes stood on the bridge of the horizon, staring at the holographic map of the war zone. He had lost 2 ships and hundreds of soldiers. But the mission was a success. For the first time, the Alliance had survived a full-scale Zorath assault. The crew was tired but proud. Their small victory echoed across the fleet. Soon, a message arrived from the Galactic Council. They wanted to meet the humans face to face. When the transmission began, dozens of alien faces appeared on screen. Different species with different shapes, colors, and languages. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few looked almost human. Their leader, a silver-eyed being named Cyril Vorn, spoke first. "Humans from Earth, your courage has been noted. But this war is not your concern. You should return home before you are destroyed." Captain Reyes kept his voice calm. "With respect, we didn't travel light years to watch others die. You called for help? We came." The aliens exchanged glances. They didn't understand this kind of stubbornness. To them, war was about strategy and survival. But humans fought for something different. They fought with heart. Cyril Vorn looked at the others and said, "Very well, humans. You may stay, but stay out of our way." That day, humans were assigned to the rear line. They were told to protect supply routes and avoid major combat. The Alliance believed they were too weak to face the Zorath directly. But humans never liked sitting still. Within hours, Reyes ordered scouting missions into nearby systems. His soldiers discovered that the Zorath were planning a surprise attack on an unguarded planet filled with refugees. Reyes knew that if they waited for permission, it would be too late. So he made a choice. The humans went in alone. Their fleet jumped into the system before anyone could stop them. The Zorath fleet was already there, preparing to burn the planet. The humans arrived in the middle of chaos. They had no reinforcements, no support, only their own firepower and instincts. The battle started instantly. The Horizon's cannons roared, missiles streaking across the void. Fighter pilots moved like hunters, weaving between enemy ships, targeting weak spots. The Zorath commander laughed when he saw the human fleet. To him, they were nothing but fragile newcomers. But within minutes, his ships started falling apart. Humans didn't fight the same way as others. They used unpredictability as a weapon. They faked retreats, then turned around to strike from behind. They hid behind asteroids, using them as cover. They overloaded their own engines just to gain extra speed. In space, humans were chaos, and chaos terrified the enemy. When the Alliance finally arrived, the battle was already over. The planet was safe, and the Zorath fleet was gone. The aliens couldn't believe it. Reports came in showing how the humans had outsmarted an enemy 10 times their size. For the first time, the galaxy began to fear them not because of their power, because of how they fought. In the following days, rumors spread through every corner of the Alliance. Soldiers whispered about the Terrans. Some said they were fearless. Others said they were insane. Every story grew bigger, turning them into legends. But humans didn't care about fame. They cared about survival and the people they protected. In every ship, small reminders of home hung on the walls, family photos, flags, or music playing softly in the background. Even in the middle of war, they held on to who they were, careful. The alien commander from the first battle began studying them closely. He noticed something strange. Humans smiled even when outnumbered. They joked before battles. They comforted their wounded. He had never seen that before. In most species, fear came first. In humans, courage came naturally. The Zorath Empire soon noticed it too. They started calling humans the Silent Storm, So when humans entered a battlefield, everything changed. No one understood how they kept fighting, how they kept surviving, or why they never gave up. One night, Captain Reyes stood by the observation window watching the stars. His second officer, Lieutenant Harris, joined him and asked, "Do you think the Alliance will ever trust us?" Reyes looked at the endless sky and said, "They don't have to trust us. They just have to see what happens when humanity stands together." Far away, deep in Zorith territory, enemy leaders stared at their battle reports. Their fleets had been crushed by a small human force. One of them whispered, "If this is what their first soldiers can do, what happens when all of humanity arrives?" The question echoed across the stars. And somewhere out there, the humans prepared for their next move, ready to prove that Earth's warriors were only getting started. The galaxy had begun to whisper the name humans. First it was said with curiosity, then with fear. News of the battles spread faster than light. Entire species that had never seen a human now spoke of them in hushed tones. They called them unpredictable, dangerous, even reckless. But one thing everyone agreed on: when humans arrived on a battlefield, things changed. In the war records of the Galactic Alliance, humans were listed as auxiliary fighters. Yet in every battle they joined, the enemy lost. Their ships were small, and their technology was old, but somehow they kept winning. Alien generals tried to study their tactics but couldn't understand them. Humans didn't follow the same logic as everyone else. They adapted to chaos. They created order out of madness. Captain Reyes had become a symbol. To the Alliance, he was a reminder that courage could not be measured by technology. To the Zorith Empire, he was a problem that had to be erased. Bounties were placed on his head. Zorith propaganda showed humans as monsters from a savage world. But the truth was more frightening: the humans were not monsters. They were ordinary people who refused to give up. On the horizon, morale was high, but tension was growing. The humans were respected by some alien officers but hated by others. Many Alliance commanders believed the humans were reckless troublemakers who endangered missions by refusing to follow orders. Yet every time they doubted them, humans proved them wrong. One evening, Carthel visited the horizon for the first time. His tall frame barely fit in the narrow corridors. Human soldiers watched him with cautious curiosity. He expected a grim warship full of silent soldiers. Instead, he found laughter. Music played in the mess hall. Crew members shared stories over coffee. Some were cleaning weapons, while others joked about Earth sports. He turned to Reyes and said, "Your people are strange. You fight like you do not fear death." Reyes smiled slightly. "We do fear it. That's what makes us fight harder." Kurthel studied him for a moment. "You care for each other more than your own survival." "That's how we win," Reyes replied simply. Those words stayed with Kurthel. Later, when he returned to his ship, he told his officers, "Do not underestimate the humans. They fight for reasons we cannot see." Days later, the Alliance prepared for another major offensive against the Zorith. The humans were assigned to the Outer Ring again, guarding supply routes. But Reyes suspected something. The Zorith had gone quiet, too quiet. He felt the same unease he used to feel before ambushes during his time on Earth. He ordered long-range scans. But the Alliance command dismissed his warnings. That night, the Zorith attacked from the shadows. Massive ships appeared out of warp space, targeting the unguarded Central Fleet. The Alliance panicked. Communications broke down. Dozens of ships were destroyed in the first hour. But Reyes had already predicted it. The Horizon and its fleet were ready. They jumped straight into the heart of the ambush. The sudden arrival of human ships confused the Zoroth. Humans had no fear of being outnumbered. They used debris fields as cover, blasted engines to overheat their guns, and even rammed smaller ships into enemy vessels to create explosions. When the battle ended, thousands of lives were saved. The Alliance fleet survived only because the humans had acted without orders. But instead of being thanked, Reyes was summoned to face the Council. Inside the Great Chamber, the alien leaders looked down from their high seats. Cyril Vorn spoke coldly. "Captain Reyes, you violated direct orders. You put your entire fleet in danger." Reyes stood firm. "If we had waited, you'd all be dead. You humans think courage excuses disobedience, another alien said. Reyes looked up at them, his voice steady. No, we just don't wait for permission to do what's right. There was silence. Even Cyril Vorn couldn't reply. He had seen the reports. The humans had turned defeat into victory again. Outside the chamber, alien soldiers who once looked at humans with suspicion now saluted them. Respect was growing, slowly but surely, but among the Zorath, rage burned. Their High Lord demanded vengeance. He ordered the creation of a special task force whose only mission was to hunt down humans. They called it the Reaper Division. As the humans repaired their ships, Kerthal visited Reyes once more. They will come for you, he warned. Reyes looked at the stars and said, then we'll be ready. That night, as the horizon floated in the quiet dark, the crew could feel something changing. The war was no longer just between the Alliance and the Zoroth. It had become something personal. The galaxy had seen humanity's strength, but it had not yet seen their fury. Far across the stars, the Reaper Division prepared to strike. And the next stage of the war was about to begin. The human fleet was growing stronger with every battle. They had earned respect from the soldiers of the Galactic Alliance. Out! But deep inside the Alliance Council, fear had begun to spread. The alien leaders met in secret chambers, whispering about the humans. Some called them heroes. Others called them a threat. Every victory they win makes them stronger, said Cyril Vorn quietly. What happens when they no longer need us? The others nodded. Humanity had come as allies, but they were becoming something more, something the galaxy could not control. And so, a dark decision was made. Weeks later, Captain Reyes received new orders. His fleet was to lead an attack on the Zorath fortress world of Korthion. It was a dangerous mission, but the humans accepted without hesitation. The Alliance promised full support. Dozens of alien fleets were supposed to follow them into battle. But what Reyes didn't know was that those fleets were never coming. The Horizon led the charge through hyperspace. When the humans arrived, Korthion was already waiting. Zorath ships filled the system, hundreds of them. The trap was perfect. Within minutes, the humans were surrounded. Lieutenant Harris stared at the radar in shock. Where's the Alliance fleet? They were supposed to be here. Reyes didn't answer. He already knew. The silence of the channels said it all. The Alliance had betrayed them. The first Zoroth strike hit hard. Missiles tore through the shields of the Vanguard and shattered to smaller ships. The Horizon shook violently. Alarms screamed across the deck. Reyes grabbed the rail, shouting orders as smoke filled the bridge. Return fire. Keep formation. No one breaks line. For every human ship destroyed, 2 Zorath ships followed. The humans fought with desperation and fury, but the enemy numbers were endless. Plasma blasts lit up space like a storm of fire. Dozens of human voices shouted through the comms reports of damage, quests for help, final messages before the line went silent. Still, they refused to run. Reyes knew they would not survive, but he also knew they would not surrender. If this is our end, he said, then we make it one they'll never forget. The humans turned their ships toward the largest Zoroth carrier. They overloaded their reactors, using the energy to boost their weapons. Missiles burned hotter, railguns fired faster, and every pilot fought like it was their last moment. They attacked from every angle, like wolves surrounding a beast 10 times their size. Hours passed. The Zoroth carrier finally exploded, taking dozens of its escorts with it. The shockwave lit the entire sky, but the price was terrible. Half the human fleet was gone. The survivors pulled back to the far side of a shattered moon, hiding in its shadow. Engines were dead, shields failing, ammunition almost gone. In the silence that followed, Reyes sat on the bridge, blood running down his forehead. Around him, crew members worked to keep the ship alive. No one spoke. Everyone knew what had happened. The Alliance had used them as bait. On the alien homeworlds, news of the defeat spread. The Alliance claimed that the humans had disobeyed orders and attacked too early. They painted them as reckless and dangerous. But Kerthal, who had fought beside them, refused to believe it. He began searching for proof, hacking through classified files and encrypted channels. What he found made his blood run cold: messages showing the Council's secret deal with the Zorath. The humans were never meant to survive. Carethel broadcasted the truth to the entire Alliance network. Within hours, every soldier knew the betrayal. Riots broke out on several planets. Many alien fleets turned against the Council. And far away, deep in the shadows of Korthion's moon, a broken transmission came to life. "This is Captain Reyes of the Terran fleet," the voice said, weak but unbroken. "We're still here." The signal spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Against all odds, humanity had survived. The Zorath searched every corner of the system, but found nothing. The humans had disappeared. Weeks later, Alliance scouts found wreckage scattered across Korthion's orbit, but no human bodies. Some said they escaped through uncharted wormholes. Others believed they died as legends. But deep in the void, near a silent asteroid field, faint engine trails glowed red. The humans were alive, building something new, something powerful. They had learned their lesson. They would never again fight under another's command. Captain Reyes stood aboard the half-repaired Horizon, watching the stars. His voice was calm but cold. "They wanted to use us," he said, "but they made us stronger." In the darkness, the surviving humans began to rebuild. They would rise again not as soldiers of the Alliance, but as warriors of their own making. And somewhere far away, the Council trembled, realizing their greatest mistake. Humanity had not been destroyed. Humanity had just been reborn. Months passed since the betrayal at Korthion. The humans had vanished from the official records of the Galactic Alliance. The Council called them lost, and the Zorath believed them dead. But in the dark corners of space, far from any trade route or beacon, humanity was reborn, inside a massive asteroid field. Deep within a red dwarf system, the survivors of the Horizon fleet were rebuilding. Wrecked ships had been stripped for metal. Old reactors had been re-engineered. Every spare part was used, every idea tested. They had no help, no allies, no resources, only determination. Captain Reyes stood before a new kind of ship. It was bigger, faster, and deadlier than anything humans had ever built before. It was made from the bones of alien tech, fused with human creativity. They named it the Vanguard 1, the first ship of the new Terran Vanguard fleet. Humans no longer fought for the Alliance. They fought for themselves. Lieutenant Harris looked over the ship's shining hull and said, "They think we're ghosts." Reyes smiled slightly. "Then let's haunt them." The humans trained harder than ever. Every pilot, engineer, and marine knew this was no longer just a war, it was payback. They built stealth systems stolen from alien wreckage. Railguns powered by hybrid cores and armor designed to absorb plasma fire. But what made them dangerous wasn't their new technology. It was their unity. Every member of the Terran Vanguard had lost someone at Korthion. Every one of them carried the memory of betrayal. And every one of them swore they would never bow to any alien council again, when their fleet was ready. Reyes sent a single transmission to the galaxy. The message was short and simple. "To all who fight for freedom, humanity still stands." The message spread like wildfire. On dozens of worlds, soldiers who had lost faith in the Alliance began to rebel. Small fleets defected, carrying supplies and data to the humans in secret. Even Carethel joined them, bringing valuable intelligence about the Zorath and the Council. The Alliance tried to silence the message, but it was too late. The Terran Vanguard had become a symbol. Every oppressed world, every forgotten colony, looked to humanity as a spark of hope. Meanwhile, deep in the Zorath Empire, High Lord Vexer was furious. The humans had humiliated him twice. He demanded their destruction. The Reaper Division, his elite hunters, was sent to track them down. Weeks later, the Zorath fleet found the human base hidden inside the asteroid field. 1,000 ships descended upon them. The humans were outnumbered 10-1. Reyes stood on the bridge of the Vanguard 1, calm as ever. "They've come to finish what they started," Harris said quietly. Reyes looked out the viewport, his voice steady. "Then we finish it first." As the Zorath approached, the humans activated their new defense systems. Energy fields flared around the asteroids, turning them into living weapons. Dozens of mines and automated turrets came online. When the first Zorath ships entered the field, chaos erupted. The humans struck from hiding, emerging from shadows like ghosts. Their railguns fired with deadly precision. Missiles streaked through the rocks, hitting weak spots with perfect aim. The Zorath tried to form ranks, but every time they did, humans broke them apart again. The Reaper Division's commander sent a furious message. "You cannot win. You are outnumbered." Reyes replied calmly, "We're not here to win. We're here to teach." Hours later, the Zorath fleet was going to neither destroyed or retreating. The human losses were heavy, but the message was clear. Humanity had returned, stronger and smarter than before. The Battle of the Red Dwarf became legend. The galaxy now knew that humans could not be erased. They didn't just survive betrayal, they turned it into strength. After the battle, Kerthel met Reyes in the command room. "You've changed the balance of power," he said quietly. "Every world is talking about you." Reyes looked at the holographic map of the galaxy, now filled with red and blue battle zones. "We're not done," he said. "The Alliance betrayed us. The Zoroth hunted us. But now, we decide how this war ends." Pointed at the center of the map, the Zoroth homeworld. "That's where we go next." The Terran vanguard began preparations for the final assault. The galaxy held its breath. The once forgotten humans were now leading the charge that could end the galactic war forever. Every soldier aboard the vanguard one knew the risk. Many might not return, but none hesitated. Humanity had started as strangers in this war zone. Now, they were the storm that would decide its fate, and as their fleet prepared to jump into hyperspace, Reyes gave the final order. "Set course for the Zoroth homeworld. Let's show them what it means to be human." The stars looked cold and endless as the Terran vanguard fleet prepared for its final jump. Hundreds of ships stood in formation around the Vanguard 1, engines burning bright blue. Every pilot, soldier, and engineer aboard knew this was at the last battle of the Galactic War. Humanity had come a long way from being unknown newcomers. They had been betrayed, hunted, and written off as extinct. Now, they were about to end the war that had nearly destroyed the galaxy. Captain Reyes stood on the command deck, staring at the holographic map of the Zoroth homeworld. The planet glowed crimson, surrounded by an iron wall of warships and defense stations. It was a fortress that no fleet had ever breached. Beside him, Kerthel adjusted the tactical display. His voice was calm but heavy. "Their defenses are stronger than anything we've seen. If we fail here, there won't be a second chance." Reyes nodded. "Then we don't fail." The order was given. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, space twisting around them until, in a flash of light, they emerged above the Zorath world. Alarms echoed across the enemy fleet. Thousands of alien eyes turned toward the humans. The High Lord Vexer stood on his massive flagship, looking at the approaching Terran armada. "So the ghosts return," he growled. "Let's end them for good." The first volley came from the Zoroth side. A storm of plasma and missiles filled the void. Human ships were hit immediately, but they didn't retreat. The Vanguard 1 surged forward, shields burning bright as it returned fire. The rest of the fleet followed, moving like one living creature. Every formation, every maneuver had been practiced 100 times in the dark exile. Now every second counted. The battle was chaos. Fighters darted between giant cruisers, explosions painted the sky, and the void shimmered with energy blasts. Humans fought not with fear, but with fury. They targeted command ships first, cutting off enemy coordination. Every time a human ship fell, 2 more took its place. Pushing forward through the storm, on the ground below, the Zoroth armies prepared to defend their capital. But something unexpected happened. Dozens of human drop pods streaked through the atmosphere like burning stars. They hit the surface hard, soldiers emerging in battle armor marked with the Terran insignia. The humans fought through the streets, freeing alien prisoners and civilians the Zoroth had enslaved for years. The galaxy was watching through every hacked broadcast channel. For the first time, Zoroth homeworld was under siege. Jan humans were leading the charge. High Lord Vexer ordered his flagship to target the planet itself. was ready to destroy his own world rather than lose it. When the Vanguard 1 intercepted the signal, Reyes knew what he had to do. Target their flagship, he said. All batteries fire at will. Every human ship opened fire. The combined barrage cracked the Zoroth's shields and tore through the hull. Vexor's final transmission was filled with rage and disbelief. "You insignificant creatures? You were never meant to rule the stars," Reyes answered quietly. "We don't want to rule them. We just want them to be free." The Zoroth flagship exploded, its fireball lighting up the dark sky like a second sun. The shockwave tore through the fleet, ending the war in one final blaze. Across the galaxy, the signal of victory spread. The war was over. The surviving Zoroth surrendered. The Galactic Alliance, broken and exposed for its betrayal, dissolved within days. And in the center of it all stood humanity as conquerors, but as the ones who had done what no one else could. When the dust settled, the Terran Vanguard landed on the surface of the ruined Zoroth capital. Reyes stood among the wreckage, the wind blowing ash across the broken city. Carathal joined him, looking at the horizon. "You've done it," he said. "The war is over." Reyes shook his head. "Wars end. But peace has to be built." He looked up at the stars, knowing Earth was out there, far away and waiting. The humans had come across the galaxy as strangers and returned as legends. They didn't claim planets or power. They simply helped rebuild what was broken and then prepared to go home before the fleet departed. Reyes sent one last transmission to every world that had suffered through the war. His voice was steady and filled with quiet pride. "This is Captain Reyes of the Terran Vanguard. The war is finished. We came not to conquer, but to remind the galaxy that courage still matters. We are human, and when we fight for everyone." As the fleet turned toward the stars, engines igniting one last time, millions across the galaxy watched them go. To some, they were heroes. To others, myths. But one truth remained. When humans entered the galactic war zone, the galaxy would never be the same again.